What is going on, guys? Now, this thing is telling me that I may or may not be live, but I think that I already am because of how it works. So, since I'm assuming I'm live, hope everybody's doing well. Don't forget to check me out at twitter.com/lore reloaded, as well as twitch.tv/lore reloaded. And if you're watching this on anything that isn't YouTube, youtube.com/lore reloaded. What is going on? Al Weifu, John, live chat, of course, Jacko, hope you doing well. Sean Cody, always fun. Somber Mango in the house. J. Paul Lightfoot, Jim Kirk, hope y'all are doing well. So, judging from the title says yes. We're already getting into it. Al Weifu is already tired as hell, and I'm doing a live feed, and now you're going to have to stay up. That's just the way it happens. You know how it goes. So, all right, guys, we're going to break it down. You guys wanted me to do more live events, so here we are. I'm going to try to get back into the wagon. I'm going to be fixing this, but I need to work with Stream Elements. They're actually really good, but my whole thing is completely messed up. So I guess I'm going to have to work with them at a later point. I don't know if you can see the chat, but you're live. I know that I am. There were certainly a few episodes that made me think she had, you say PMS, I'm assuming you mean PTSD. Sci-Fi Sit Down, it has been a while, sir. It's been a long while. It's been a long while. Getting from there to... All right, I'm going to stop. All right, so let us talk about Janeway tonight. And if I'm going to start doing this live, I'm not completely sure what format I'm going to take. Historically, I always just pick something having to do with science fiction, Star Trek specifically, or things of that nature, and then went from there and see where you guys go. It doesn't seem like that is as popular as some of the other things I'm seeing, so I'm not sure. We're just going to have to play around, see what you guys like. But let's talk about Janeway tonight and PTSD. This is a video I'm actually thinking about doing. And I am not... I gotta be honest, I actually do think that she had PTSD towards the end, but I can see why people would get upset about that. Now, going back to what you guys were saying, Jefferson Vohe said she had PMS, which was a joke, so I got you. I was wrong there. But someone said before that it was just bad writing. Well, obviously, when you take a look at the episodes and such, you can put it to bad writing, but a part of the channel is trying to look at it in context and make it fit within the universe, right? I think that Janeway, from everything we can tell, was one of the newer captains. This was not her first. She wasn't seasoned like Picard. She wasn't seasoned like Cisco. I think that more likely she was pretty new. And I think the later episodes kind of prove that out. By the way, guys, let me know if you saw it or if you got an alert. Because I think PTSD may be actually keeping it down from people getting alerts. Sherry Nagel helping out the channel. Thank you so much. As you guys know, one of the ways that I keep this afloat, that I'm able to do stuff like this for you, is through fans like you, super chats, things like that. It says happy chatting to you too. But so we have a newer captain. I think that all of the dialogue and then future episodes prove that out. I sincerely think that kind of lays it out pretty definitively. A more advanced ship. She's also a science officer. That's something to remember. Is her background is from the science division. She wasn't in command. She didn't do tactical or anything like that. And so you have this idealistic captain that gets thrown across the galaxy, and now she has to make her way back. As she continues making her way back, she starts to lose a lot of people. She starts to see people die. She starts to see her crew suffer from a decision that she made that she could have chosen not to. What's going on, Bad Wolf Gamer? Always a pleasure to see you. John got the alert. Good. Morfave says, got a YouTube alert. Okay, good. I'm glad YouTube's alerting you guys. But going back to Janeway, so that's going to take a toll on anybody. We also know that looking at Janeway, or not just Janeway, but looking at humans, that the way the evolved human comes about, or the way that they are able to deal with this, is due to what's going on around them. It's not nature, it's nurture. We see that in the Dominion War. We also see that in O'Brien when he tries to commit suicide. So the humans they're evolved, but it isn't to a point that they just slake this off. What's surrounding them does impact them. So O'Brien, almost commits suicide. We have Sisko breaking all of his morals. And you even see that with Picard, I think. So it's not unreasonable to think that these things would have an impact on Janeway. And there are two different episodes that I think not definitively, but I think moves evidence. And by the way, guys, Maurice Irvin says, I'm so glad this came up on my recommendations. Love your vids, Maurice. I love that you love my vids. By the way, for those who are new or didn't do the live streams, a while back, a year, I guess, when I did live streams, it's more conversation. This is me just sitting talking with you guys. So if you want to throw it up there, let me know. Depending on how fast they're going, I'll try to get your comments. I may or may not be able to. But going back to what I was saying, there are two definitive episodes that I think. First off is the finale. I think that when she sees the devastation, what happens to Tuvok, the people that were lost, she comes back and rewrites the entirety of history for maybe a dozen people, generally less. And it was only people that she cared about, because she didn't go all the way back. Oh no, good friends. She didn't save all of her crew. It wasn't all of her crew. It was specific people that she cared about. And so that, I think, is definitively a shall we say, symptom of mental distress on her side. And then the other one, what was... You guys remind me, because I forget the name of the episode, but it was the one where the crew was taken in, their minds were rewritten, and they forgot everything, and they were just made to workers. And then you had the emergency command hologram. I think it's the first time we saw the ECH. I forget the name. Maybe Workforce? Maybe the name of it? I don't know. Let me know if you guys think. I think it was named Workforce. But in that, Riker, wow, Chakotay gives her the option and says, hey, you need to help me out. You need to fix this. And she betrays him and says she doesn't want to be in charge. And that kind of shows subliminally where she's at. Now, those are the two major instances. I think that there could be quite a few. So, I don't know. I'd love to know your guys' opinion. Brian Craig says she only cared about you if your name was in the opening credits. That is true. She was well known for only caring about people in the opening credits. Also only known for being the only character that was Deadpool and knew that she wasn't, in an actual series. Al Weifu says she might have faced death at points, but she might not have faced it on a ship-wide scale, which made her have emotional problems, like General Shepard from Call of Duty, I'm guessing, too, because he lost 30,000 in a blink. Jade says, but Sisko was in charge of the station, regardless of rank. As a first officer, Janeway had a superior right there to fall back on. Not sure what you're talking about, Jade. Renee Lopez says it was a two-part episode. It was indeed a two-part episode. Yeah, so it was Workforce. That's what I was thinking. I'm not completely and a lot of people ask what would have happened if it happened to Picard or Sisko or such as that. People forget that Picard was flung all the way across. He was flung to all different regions of the galaxy and always made it home far before she did. I'm not sure if he was ever flung as far as she was, but he found a way to actually make it back home. But again, I think that she was suffering from some form or something akin to post-traumatic stress syndrome, especially towards the end in the later seasons. We can call that bad writing, but if it's consistent, how did they just consistently write it bad? I almost wonder if they did that to a degree, if it was done on purpose. Because while there are inconsistencies, of that I will agree, I think that overall, a lot of the continuity shows her just to be a broken person. And I wonder if that was done for the finale. And you could start seeing it in my opinion, in season 6 and definitely in season 7, I think. By the way, guys, we got 74 people watching, only 14 thumbs up. Hey, if you guys really do like this and you enjoy being here, please hit that thumbs up. It actually helps and tells YouTube that you're enjoying this, and it sends it out to more people. So the more thumbs up, the better. Now, if you hate this, hit the thumbs down, because then they'll stop sending it out. And I'm definitely not manipulating you, because Google definitely doesn't only care about the interaction. So if you want to hurt me bad, definitely hit that thumbs down. But for those who want to help me, hit the thumbs up. Yeah, that episode with the voice showed just how damaged Janeway's mind was. I agree. The whole love your videos. Well, I love you, Half Soul. I love you. She would have to promise or do something for Section 31 for them to let her change the timeline. So we're talking. One of the questions that came up, I saw this before while I was talking, why didn't Section 31 stop her, or why didn't the time police or whatever stop her? And there's not a huge... See, it goes back to my theory. I have a theory that one of two things. Section 31 is actually the time police in some form. They co-opted it or took it over. Or the Time Force isn't necessarily time police, whatever the hell they're called, isn't as benign as they seem to be. They generally seem to only step in. They seem to only step in when it benefits the Federation. Like, full stop. They only step in let me rephrase that. They only step in if it's detrimental to the Federation. They generally don't step in if it's beneficial. So if it's a more corrupt organization, then they're not going to stop Janeway when it helps them out. And that kind of goes towards, the Section 31, or they're just a corrupt organization. Cherie Nagel, helping out again, $2. Thank you so much. But I will say that SF Debris, if for you guys who don't know, you can catch him at sfdebris.com. He had a really interesting, and I think one of the most creative ideas on how to make everything work. Because if you remember, Voyager is bumping up right against Star Trek Enterprise, right? And so he takes the ending, the finale, where she goes back in time. And instead of having it where Voyager got there and just some of the crew died, the Borg actually won. The Borg assimilated everything. And now you have Janeway as a small part of Starfleet. And during this time, Starfleet has figured out how to fight the Borg, but it was too late for them to win. So she goes back in time and gives this technology. And it was agreed among the Time Police or whoever that she could do this, because if the Borg win, then they lose everything. And because she did that, it caused a ripple in the timeline going both forward and backward that created the Cold War. That was kind of a response or a unfortunate requirement for that to happen. He explains it a lot better, but I think that it is definitely a great and creative way to tie Enterprise and Voyager together, as well as explain why the Time Police didn't step in. APB Productions and Gaming says the show's intention are unknown, but they showed the effects of PTSD and survivor's guilt. That was the case for the character Janeway's condition started when the aliens stole Neelix's lungs in season 1. Possible. I haven't seen that one. Jay Dixon, I honestly think most Trek characters have PTSD, or at least a ton of risk factors. We just don't see it on screen unless it's convenient for the plot. I think it would be hard. I think that you definitely need counselors and to have some kind of evolution. Connor Sweeney says, "Oh hell no, that is such a false equivalence. Benevolent, godlike entities threw Picard across galaxy and safely back. Janeway was actually stranded." Connor Sweeney, my good friend, it was more than just. First off, it doesn't matter how they got there, godlike entities or not. Janeway had the ability to send themselves back using technology. So she could have actually gotten back. She had more of a chance to get back than Picard did in most instances, because Picard didn't actually have the ability to return. She chose not to. It's not a false equivalency at all either, because there are actual episodes where they were thrown across the galaxy and it wasn't done by Q or other godlike entities. I mean, you could maybe consider the Traveler a godlike entity, but I don't think so. Regardless of whether they were thrown by a godlike entity and then thrown back, he still actually got them back. So, it doesn't matter. Please elaborate on how spending a few hours stranded before his benevolent God... Well, Connor, you're asking me that a question. I've already addressed it. It's just got to catch up to you, so you can re-ask that. Okay, let's get into symptoms seen on screen, please, says J. Paul Lightfoot. Well, I mean, again, survivor's guilt would be one. And I'm not a doctor, so maybe I might say PTSD and it's something else. But she definitely has survivor's guilt. She doesn't want to be in command in different times. She doesn't want to... every time she loses someone, you can see an impact. When it comes to her crew, she is willing to erase people from history and kill. There are some episodes where she was willing to kill to save her crew. She broke the Prime Directive more than a few times. Her crew became more important to her than anything else. She gave up all morality when it came to that. And again, with episodes like Workforce, with the finale, you can see that she can't live with the decisions that she's made and that she moves back from it. Those are my thoughts. Star Trek creates great concepts, then never revisits them again. Sometimes. J. Paul Lightfoot. So you say that I suffer from PTSD. I've seen the survivor's guilt. That's fair enough. It's not going to be like real world, and I sincerely apologize that you're going through that. But if you're about to give me a lot of different things, it's not completely in... it's not going to be apples to apples. I will grant that. I think I saw it in her some, especially Year of Hell, when she withdrew from the crew and bit away, had sleep issues. Year of Hell, I think, is very telling. I wish they had made that into a season. I think it would have been great. Many others are possibly more dedication to the crew and the mission. Dedication to the crew. I love your videos and streams. And by second season, I believe Janeway does have that. Maybe she never got over losing the dog to her husband. That's horrible, Val Mike. You're a bad person. The reason she has it is because she never got over losing the dog to her husband. I think he moved on, too. I don't know, guys. And again, I'm welcome to talk about other things if you'd like, but let me know. Half Soul Kaneke says, Star Trek Online feels extremely lore-breaking. What's your thoughts on the game? So for some reason, my Star Trek Online definitively moves past the lore, and sometimes they expand and it's great. Sometimes they expand that it doesn't. I actually enjoy playing lore Star Trek Online generally. I actually had a good relationship with Perfect World, and then all of a sudden I lost my account and they don't really want to do any business. I'm not completely sure why. I do know that they've cozied up to CBS, and I know CBS hated me for a while, so I don't know. But when it comes to Star Trek Online and the lore, I think it's interesting. I think it's fun, but I do think that it's breaking. They take things too far sometimes. I guess we'll have to see. I don't know. Year of Hell would have been better without the reset button, says Brian Craig. You know, they wanted to do a complete season of Year of Hell, and whatever the hell his name is. Oh, man. I forget. The guy who was in charge of the... Berman pulled back. And I really hate that they pulled him back. It was very unfortunate that he wanted to be more Gene-like. I'll say one thing for Berman. One thing about Berman is that while a lot of people get onto him, I actually, to a degree, respect what he was trying to do. I think that Berman um, wanted to keep it as close to what Gene wanted as he could. Rick Berman, yeah. And because of that, he held back a lot of the storylines. I can respect that he wanted to keep it what his mentor wanted it to be. I think it was the wrong choice, but I can at least respect that. That said, he didn't let them do a full season of Year of Hell. They really condensed everything they wanted to do, which I think was to a detriment. I think that him holding them back there was one of the reasons Voyager wasn't as the best that it could be. Orataka Tinga, what's going on? That would have been one awesome season of Trek. I agree. I think so. Big question for me. How do you think the starships will evolve now? More pointed like the Prometheus and Intrepid classes, or back to the wider shape of the Golden Age starships? So talking about that, what are they going to do? And you know, first off, when talking about Star Trek Online and Perfect World, I could be wrong. Maybe they're busy or something like that. Just seems a little weird. I've reached out to them recently because I have something coming up that I'd like them to be a part of, but they haven't responded, and they may not be interested. And if they're not, that's fine. But anyway, I like everyone. I like every one of them. If they're doing it, I don't think it's personal. I have a good personal relationship with them. But all that aside, what was I talking about beforehand? I lost it. Yeah, I don't know what I was talking about. Remind me what I was talking about. Year of Hell was rest, though there was definitely shown on there, but when the timeline was reset, it erased those experiences. Yeah, no, you see, the thing is those experiences still existed. She didn't have those things just because of what happened in Year of Hell. It was that based up to it. That was just the straw that broke the camel's back, in my opinion. Berman made some questionable decisions, but I definitely miss him running Trek at this point. I disagree. I don't think him running Trek would be any better than who's running it right now. What do you think could Equinox have been major to the show? What do you think could Equinox been major to the show? APB Productions, can you re-ask that? Michael Weir helping out the channel. Michael Weir is a huge contributor to the channel. I can't tell you how much he's helped me out. He's a great guy. He's a lot of fun. And yeah, just everybody tell Michael Weir how awesome he is. Hey, Laura, love the channel. I love how these shows definitely give us things to talk about. Oh, I agree. I completely agree. The worst Voyager is better than the best Discovery, says Brian Craig. Ah, no. Threshold. I'll take almost any episode over Threshold. That was just horrific. And there are a couple others that I don't like. Starship designs moving forward. That's right. That's what we're talking about, Schneeflock. So what I think is, based on what I've seen, here's the thing about the Star Trek Picard. We haven't seen anything. We've seen a 3-second clip, and we've seen some, 4 photos. We don't know anything about it. But here's my guess, based on what I've seen, that could be completely off. Okay? I would say, based on what I've seen and what I've heard, it's going to be a return to the bigger ships, a return to the less militaristic ships. I think this is for a couple of reasons. I think they're going to try to do this. Evolved human Starfleet would get over it in less than 24 years. I disagree with that. I also think that they're trying to do a return to form, a return to TNG, a return to early DS9, where they're, saying, I'm sorry, here's what you guys have been complaining about, and here's what you want. I do think that that they are trying to make amends for what happened in Discovery to a degree. And I think because of that, the ships are going to reflect it. So any ships we see will be more focused on exploration, more TNG. And so more TNG, more early DS9. What I'm scared of is a lot of people are saying that it's going to basically be kind of like Firefly in space, but from Star Trek's perspective. They're going to be on the run or something like that. And maybe, what was that fanfic that was a big deal, and then the Axonar stuff happened and they had to stop, or they thought they had to stop? What the hell was it called? They had their own ship or whatever. I forget. But anyway, I think it's going to be, if it's like that, I think it's a bad idea. But I do think they're going to return to Golden Age. I think it's going to be try to be an apology, try to make amends. I think it's going to make a lot of people mad too. I don't think CBS can win at this point either, though. I don't think, regardless of what they put up, people are going to be pissed off about it. You know, people are already getting upset at this, at what they're seeing, and we really haven't seen anything. Jackson Kennedy, good day to you, sir. Good day. Could have Equinox been major to the show and storyline if they hadn't removed it and forget about the experience? I don't think they ever... I mean, forget... If you mean forget, that they just don't talk about it anymore. Renegade. That's right, Spartan. It was Star Trek Renegade. I think it's going to be like Star Trek Renegade if what they've described. I think that's a bad idea. Renegade was fine, don't get me wrong. Good fanfic. I just don't think they should make it official. Going back to what we were talking about, Equinox, you mean they just forgot about what was going on and everything. I thought if they kept Equinox, or they had expanded on it, it would have been interesting. I think Equinox was a really good example of how she's going through some kind of mental illness, or survival's guilt or things like that, because she's placing a lot of things on the captain that really she's completely guilty of. I think that they should have expanded Equinox. I think they should have kept the ship. I'm not sure. If I was writing it, I would have wanted to keep the ship and the crew. I'm not completely sure how I would have done that based on the specs of the Equinox. I would not have made the Equinox as... I don't think they could have made the Equinox as powerful as Voyager. I wouldn't have. But I would have tried to keep it for a little while and kind of had a fleet thing going on. And maybe even did what Battlestar Galactica did with the Galactica and the... what was the other ship? The other Battlestar? Man, I'm sorry, guys. I am still getting used to doing this for you. I'm out of practice, so it's not as good as the other ones. But you had two Battlestars. It looked like the Galactica was going to give its... give up, or the Galactica was going to sacrifice itself. All of a sudden the other ship comes in and does it. That's the way I would have done it, but I would have kept the Equinox around for a little while longer. I think that the way they handled the Equinox was or Equinox, however the hell you say it, I think the way they handled it was absolutely horrific, because it made the crew look horrible. And yeah, it was the Pegasus. If they wanted, here's maybe how I would have done it. I think if we had to keep the Equinox or Equinox, however the hell you say it, are just bad people, have them have that super mega whatever engine that was getting them across far faster than Voyager. But instead of them finding it out in 2 different episodes, they actually retrofit Voyager and keep it a secret. Now, how you write that to keep it from the crew, you'd have to be clever in the writing so it doesn't make the crew of Voyager look stupid. But then have Voyager and the Equinox traveling that way. Do it for 4 or 5 episodes for them to find out, and then the Equinox has to if it has to sacrifice itself, like I said. I don't know. I think they could have done more with it. Either pronunciation is acceptable for Equinox, says Sky Bennett. You, my good friend, have not been in my comment section when I talk about the Equinox, because apparently there's only one right way to say it, and I will choose wrong. That is what I've learned. Bad Wolf Gamer says people are still talking about World War II to this day, and the militaries of Earth haven't demilitarized at all, just advanced military technology. People of the United Federation of Planets would still be talking about the Dominion War, going back to Star Trek Picard and things about that. That is exactly what I'm saying. A lot of people says that they'll just go back, that we've changed, so look from World War II till now. Yeah, look from World War II to now, and that was just World War II. Imagine if it was in space. Beta Z was taken. So many people had been killed. Entire empires rose and were destroyed. Cardassia is gone for all intents and purposes. It'll take forever for it to be rebuilt. The Breen turned their backs on the Alpha Quadrant. That's going to have issues. The Federation went from Miranda-class vessels to Prometheus-class and Akira-class vessels and sovereigns. And even today, look at the German culture. The German culture has never been the same since the ending of World War II. And like you said, I would dare say that American culture has never been the same since World War II. Probably every government, in my opinion. So 24 years is not that long of a time. And especially when you have like Andorians and humans and Tellarites. The only people who could probably have gotten past it would be the Vulcans. Anyway, but that's my rant. Pronouncing Equinox is like spelling saber/saber class. I would agree. UFP would rearm themselves like Starship Troopers. How do you like the new style of the TV show? I do think that the United Federation planet Starfleet would be heavily militarized. I think that if they wanted to do it, they should. I hope that they still do this. I would like Starfleet to be heavily militarized, and maybe that's Picard's problem. Maybe Starfleet wants to take over the Romulans because the Romulan Empire has all but dissolved, and Starfleet wants to move in and be a conquering force. I could actually see that based on what happened. And so Picard is the voice of reason, and that's a part of it. That's what I'd like to see. What do I think about the TV so far? I haven't seen anything. I don't know enough about it. I don't hate what I see. I don't like what they did with Picard there. I thought that was insulting to the character, in my opinion. But I've seen 2 seconds and some footage. If I don't like, I like the uniform. I don't think it fits for the era, but I'll say this. It would be interesting if they split up Starfleet and into a military and into a scientific type thing. So on Earth, or if you're not on military duty, you're not on a Sovereign, an Akira, or anything like that, you have the DS9 era uniforms. And if you're in a military vessel, you then have the Nemesis or late DS9. I could see that. That would make sense. I don't know. Do you think B4 will be with Picard? I don't think so. I don't think we'll see B4 again. Militarized, aggressive, or defensive? If I was writing, it would be militarized defensive, but if we wanted to make something interesting, I could see militarized aggressive. I could see a storyline that would make sense. Al Weifu says, 800 million Cardassians are known to have died from the war, 800 million compared to the 100 years of time between now and World War II, and only suffered 60 million casualties. Yeah, and, we only know of 100,000 that died from the Federation, but it had to be far more than that, honestly. In Season 5 to 6 during the Dominion War, the Federation Klingon Empire, their morality was almost lost. It was lost. For all intents and purposes, everybody at the top just wanted to win the war and defeat the Dominion. And they were willing to ally with Section 31. They had a spy in the Romulan Empire. They ensured that a Romulan would either be put to jail, possibly killed. And that's not even talking about In a Pale Moonlight. So, it's to go back is not that easy. Question: if a modern howitzer shell was shot at a Starfleet ship with its shields up, would it punch through the shield and hit the starship? I've been wondering this since the Borg in the holodeck. It would not. Shields have the ability to withstand impacts like that. In fact, originally, in the original series, this has changed somewhat, but in the original series, phasers were really more meant to drop shields so that you could hit them with a torpedo. In TNG and DS9, they do it somewhat, but for the most part, the original concept was that you would have shields up and you would fire phasers at it because you're just trying to drain the shields. Once the shields drop, then you hit them with a photon torpedo, which is effectively in game. Larger ships like the Enterprise, Constitution class, Enterprise class, could take a couple of hits depending on where you hit them, but really it was in game at that point. In TNG, they still did that to a degree. DS9 a little bit, but the more they moved away from it, the more you fired phasers even with the weapons down. Though I will say, if you look at uh, Generations, what happens when the Klingon ship shields go down? They fire a torpedo, because that, again, is generally in the game. I don't think a TV budget is good enough for the CGI de-aging yet, says Vile. I would agree. Talking about Data, I don't think they could de-age him either. I agree. Jackson Kennedy, how do you think Picard or Sisko or any other captain would have done in Janeway's place? Picard with Borg issues, Sisko more dark and ruthless, Kirk making space babies. Picard probably would have had a bigger issue. I think Sisko would have gone full dark. I think Sisko would have probably gone... the captain of the Equinox would have been maybe a rung or two below Sisko. I don't think Sisko would sacrifice innocence, but I think he wouldn't mind going up to that point. Kirk, I think, would... I look at Kirk, honestly... I look at Kirk as like an in-between of Picard and Sisko. And I think Kirk would have probably been more in the middle ground, in my opinion. I have a question. Do you think that the Borg would be destroyed if somebody was to use railguns and projectiles? Because they seem to not be able to adapt to physical rounds. I don't know. That's generally inconsistent. I think that they did start... I want to say... In DS9, I believe they had a sniper rifle that used projectiles, and that was specifically against the Borg. It had a transporter technology. I think they would just find a way to adapt. I think the armor would have gotten better. The shields, their personal force fields, don't seem to have any great impact on it, I don't think. Isaac Adams, what do you think the ships are going to look like? We actually talked about this before. I think they're probably going to be Golden Age, TNG. Bigger saucer section, less focused on military. Have you ever done a Pale Moonlight review like the Drumhead? If not, could you please? I have done a Pale Moonlight, a two-parter breakdown of it. I haven't done something like the Drumhead. I intend to actually spend a couple of episodes on a Pale Moonlight, breaking it down scene by scene. But I'm going to wait till I actually get to it in the Dominion War timeline. So that's a little ways off. My previous Dominion War, I just did whatever I wanted to, and it was very annoying to try to keep up because I just did whatever I felt good, right? So I will ultimately do that. By the way, guys, if you're watching, 97 people watching, highest concurrent was like 110 or something like that. If you're watching this and you want the channel to do well and you like it, I'm going to ask you to hit the thumbs up and share it if you like. But for the most part, hit the thumbs up. Believe it or not, that actually matters. The more thumbs up I have, the more it's going to show it to not only people who are subscribed, but non-subscribers. So please consider doing that. If you hate the channel, hit the thumbs down, and it's gonna destroy my day, and it's not gonna help out at all. Just trust me. It's not the interaction that YouTube is looking for. So just do it. Shoot the Borg in the head. They're just space zombies. That's true. Question: why do Starship classes never get retired? We have Mirandas and Oberth serving in Dominion War. Just why? I think that because of the modular nature, they can be upgraded. Broken Eyes, think you'll do a breakdown on the movies? I do. I actually, Broken Eyes, I intend to do that more with the lore cinematic universe. I'm trying new things out, and I'm going to do something, but it's going to be more like a critic, but I'm going to include the lore in it too. Ships have been majorly modular, which is why you can see different types of ships that look the same. But just they're modified in some degree. I think that the weapon systems and the shields and things like that allow them to continue to be upgraded and used even 100 years out. They do actually retire ships, though, because if you remember, we don't see a Constitution class, we don't see an Enterprise class, we don't see anything like that. So they do retire them unless they get attacked by something and they're just throwing everything at it, like at Wolf 359. So they do retire classes, but ultimately, I think because of how modular the ships are, they can just continue to use them in universe. They use an Oberth because the Borg won't assimilate an Oberth. True. The Borg won't assimilate the Kazon. I think it's the Kazon because it would be a regression. So they definitely won't assimilate Oberths. It's basically the same thing. When you think Kazon, think Oberth. That's just science, is what that is. That is all that is science. Al Weifu, they really just look for thumbs up, don't care about thumbs down. Don't tell them that. Shh. Actually, I'm pretty sure they just look at interaction. They may have changed that recently. I know when I was first, those who don't know it, I actually worked for a network, a multi-channel network. So like Freedom or what's a really well-known network? Machinima, things like that. Back when I worked for them, and this was years ago, they did look at any interaction, but it was the way it looked at it, was just a positive thing. Dave Gorman, who I think is not hitting live and still back a ways. I'd agree in the Year of Hell she had PTSD. We talked about that about 30 minutes ago, but when he catches up and hears this part, boy, will his face be red. Oberth is the best of the fleet, crippled the Federation flagship with a single volley of its Wesley Crusher warhead. I'm guessing there's some kind of inside joke I'm missing there. But I don't know, guys. So when we're looking at Star Trek Picard, I really think they're going to go with non-militarized Starfleet, and I think you guys are going to hear me complain about that a lot because I don't think that is what they should do. I do think that it might be... It's in character for Starfleet. I just don't think it's the right choice. And I hope I'm wrong on that. I really do. After the Dominion War, would Starfleet and the UFP begin to militarize? Is it possible for a civil war due some people wanting to go back and explore whether the military focus? Spartan, I've talked about that. Dave, I'm live. I just joined. Oh, cool, Dave. I'm just giving you a hard time, man. Spartan, I've talked about that. I think that should be the natural progression, honestly. I think that the Federation and Starfleet would become so militarized that they actually would have some form of civil war. In fact, I did Star Trek Discovery. Go on my channel, look for Star Trek Discovery. I did a pitch for CBS, and it's like the first episode of how I would have done it. I just watched an episode of Star Trek Discovery. Now an STD. You're a bad person, Olive. Janeway is a changeling. She is. Do the Borg have an HR department? They do, and that HR department is Dave or Dan. I don't know who it is. There's a well-known YouTube channel that has like Thanos and Sonic and stuff, and they gave him a manager, the manager of Thanos, for instance. And it's done in like 16 pixel art or whatever. So you have Thanos, he walks in, and Dave or whatever, whoever the manager is, just lays into him about how he's destroyed the entire economy and destroyed all planets everywhere because he took out half the population. It's just awesome. Do you think they'll change the instruments and phasers looks? Probably. I would be surprised if they kept it. Everything has to be updated, and it's 20 years after with the war. Dorkly, that's who it's called. Dorkly, yeah. Super Gaming Freak 18 says, though, I have to say, I didn't realize how many times Janeway time traveled. 4 episodes in, and she already time traveled twice. They did a lot of tropes. For instance, when the season first started, it was like 5 episodes in or something like that, and they're already talking about will they get back in the first season. It was pretty bad it was a bad time for Trek. They didn't have the best writers. I'm hoping Star Trek Picard, some type of Three's Company type of space comedy with Captain Picard, Janeway, and Sisko. Yeah, that would be a good way to piss everybody off. I think that they should definitely do that. It would be worse than Discovery. If we know the Borg are weak to alcohol, why was this never exploited other than Robot Chicken? Um, Maybe it was just Seven of Nine that had an intolerance for alcohol. I mean, we don't know that it was all Borg, right? And how the hell would you do that? Phaser question: do you like the beam or the pulse? I like beam. When I first encountered Star Trek, it was the Next Generation. I never watched the original series, or hadn't at that time, and it was the Next Generation. So for me, I am used to the phasers, the steady pulse, and everything. So the Oberth just needs another phaser and two pieces of metal placed somewhere, and boom, you got a hero ship. Al Weifu, no one can make the Oberth a hero ship. Nobody. Maybe Picard finally married Vosh or Loaxana. No, he's got to marry Beverly. He's got to marry Beverly Crusher, or it should all be canceled. What's your favorite Trek movie, and why is Galaxy Quest? Why does Galaxy Quest exist? Because people had money, I guess. What's my favorite Trek movie? I don't know. I'm not sure. I hate a lot of the things they did in Insurrection. Not Insurrection. Ugh, not, oh, it's getting late for me, guys. The Borg movie. But the original series, I like it for different reasons. I really respect Undiscovered Country. But when it comes to something I could just sit back and enjoy, I don't know. I have to think about that. Do you think the new Star Trek will become bluntly political or keep the finesse? First Contact, yeah. I really like First Contact, though it has a lot of issues. Do you think the new Star Trek will become bluntly political or keep the finesse? I'm worried about that. A lot of people say that Picard won't, Picard's actor won't allow that to happen, that he'll keep it balanced and stuff. But if you've ever been on his Twitter, which I have, or watched his stuff, he's pretty far left, and I don't think he would be against doing that. I honestly don't. I think people have I think Picard's actor has an undeserved amount of respect in that aspect, because I don't think he's above it. I hope they don't. I hope that they learned their lesson from Star Trek Discovery. It feels like in Discovery it got better towards the end, and I hope that it's a return to it. I honestly don't mind the liberal bias. I just want it to have, like you said, finesse. I want it to challenge and to offer a reasonable argument without a detriment to the other person. Do you think the other TNG characters will appear on Picard? Probably. Not too many, though. Will Discovery have a third season? They're already confirmed for a third season. Anyone who tells you they're not going to is incorrect. They're already confirmed for a third season. They're already moving into it. And I will say, every time, for instance, people have been saying that Star Trek Picard is in trouble and they're not going to do it, and we already have film. Every time a new season has come out, Discovery's always been in trouble, and it may not do, and it always comes out. If it didn't, it would be the first time. It'd be the first time that those predictions were right out of 600 failed predictions. So they already have a confirmed season 3, and as far as it seems, there's no issues with that. But my understanding is they're stopping at season 3. There won't be a season 4. Dave Gorman, I don't think they'll have a season 4. Someone had a question before they wanted to go to bed, and I think I missed it. One last question before I go to bed. Do you think the magic Voyager brought back has become the standardized quantum slipstream ablative generator? I do, probably. In canon, in continuity, it would. So they should have those. I mean, again, Starfleet should be unbeatable at this point. So, honestly, I don't think Patrick Stewart has a good track record for protecting the character of Picard. It was him pushing for action Picard in the movies. I'd agree, John DeMarco. That's what I was saying. Do you see the How to Cause Chaos Quantum Slipstream? Oh boy, that one. Oh boy, that one. Something that's interesting on paper, says Super Gamer. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Do you see the Borg making a return with Picard? I would think that a couple decades post Janeway, that'd be a strong threat again. Hopefully the UFB would still be militarized enough. I don't. I think they're going to focus on Romulans, though it may move past that after that. If you could remove any one person and or event from Star Trek canon, what would it be? I don't know what you mean by that. Do you mean in universe? Do you mean like a show? I'd have to think about that too, because there's been some epic mistakes. It's a good question though. Think we will see William Shatner cameo. Top 3 I think we will see is Geordi LaForge, Barclay, and maybe the Doctor from Voyager. Barclay I could see for sure. LaForge I don't know, and I doubt the Doctor. I watched both seasons of Blunt Talk. I'll not put anything past Patrick Stewart now. I'm not sure what Blunt Talk is. What do you think the worst episode of Star Trek is? That'd be Threshold. Well, Threshold obviously and always comes to mind. TNG had quite a few bad ones. DS9 had a couple of its own. If I could only remove one episode, that changes things. If I could remove multiple episodes, I would remove all Mirror Universe episodes in DS9. I think they did them dirty. Dr. Pulaski would be my choice for remover. I maybe. What are your thoughts on a Q spinoff? I can watch an entire season of that guy. I don't think they could make it interesting. Q just doesn't have any flaws, you know? He can do anything, change anything. I mean, he's egotistical, but can you write an entire series around that? I think the Q are too powerful. It's like having a Borg series. They're just too powerful, even past Janeway, you know? I think the military and science ships need to be separated into their own distinct fleets to give the UFP teeth. I agree. Mirror Universe is stupid. I disagree. I like the Mirror Universe, but I think what they did to it in DS9 is unfortunate. Did you forget about TNG Code of Honor for worst Trek episode ever? I probably did. In fact, I'm tired right now, but... Oh, yeah, that one was pretty bad. For the vaccine. Pretty racist, too. Wasn't Georgiou supposed to lead the Section 31 series? How does that work if she went to the future? She's going to lead the Section 31 series in the future, is what they're going to do with it. Maybe another supervillain or threat. I don't know what that means. They'll probably have another... I don't know. If it's a return to form, it'll be a issue of the week. That said, that doesn't really work anymore. Serialized writing is how people do it these days. Maybe. I don't know. Alright guys, I'm going to be ending it shortly. I do hope you enjoy these. I'm going to try to be doing these more. Instead of writing the script, I decided to be here with you guys because I love you that much. I liked the Enterprise series Mirror Universe episode, Guilty Pleasure. I thought the Mirror Universe episode for Enterprise was done very well. And I think that disproves anything anybody wants to say. I think that the Mirror Universe really kept the aesthetics and only changed things enough. And I think they could have done that in Discovery. Jake Sisko was annoying and selfish in my opinion. I don't think Jake Sisko ever added anything. They could have removed him and nothing. But I do think that Keiko was worse. Keiko was horrible. Hey, Lore, have you heard about the restoration of the Galileo and the lawsuit? I have not, Al Weifu. What are you talking about? Galileo lawsuit. What's going on with that? I never seen Enterprise. You got to do some live chats during my lunch break. Okay, Jade, I will specifically try that for you, my friend. What were the Ferengi doing during the Dominion War? How did it affect them? They stayed neutral for the longest part and then ultimately joined the Federation, Starfleet. There was actually a couple of episodes about it. So what's going on with this lawsuit? Galileo affair? The Galileo... Oh, that's not that. Galileo lawsuit. Yeah, I'm not finding anything on it. Well, yeah, I knew that the Galileo was the shuttlecraft in the original series, but what are we talking about about that. Michael asks, out of curiosity, are your kids into Trek? They're still a little young for Trek. Unfortunately, they're too young to watch Discovery. They'd have to be in their teens to watch Discovery, given how that is. And they're a little bit young for Enterprise and TNG and DS9. They're 5 and 9. But I hope they get into it. If they like it, great. If they don't. What do you think the actual power of the Ferengi military was? I don't know. They generally bought their way out of stuff. That said, the technology that they used was supposed to be on par with a Galaxy-class starship. So, they probably could hold their own in a fight, but generally wouldn't. What do you think the I already asked that. A good enemy would be dissidents who are unhappy with the Borg and Dominion handlings. Could be. I think we're going to see issues with the Romulan Star Empire and their old guard, as well as probably the Klingons. Maybe Starfleet, but I doubt they're brave enough to do that. I said it poorly, but basically people restored the Galileo and there was a lawsuit against Discovery. Oh, I see what you're saying. That's cool that they restored Galileo. I thought the two were together. I was trying to look that up. That's cool about the Galileo. The more I look into the Discovery lawsuit, the less impressed I am. What's going on, King Pooh? Hope you're doing well. And I know that's unpopular, but it doesn't seem like there's a ton for him to stand on. And I don't know. I think that he's going to lose in court too. I haven't looked a ton into it. And I know that's really unpopular, but that's my honest opinion of it. I don't know. The things that are interesting, or I think pretty frustrating, is the tardigrade, the color of the tardigrade, and the time travel. That's really all it feels like he has to go on. And I don't know that that's enough. Maybe it is. I don't know. Can you do a fix or write Voyager episode or live stream the same way you did for Discovery? I need to finish that series for Discovery. Now that they're past season 2, I need to get back to that. From what I've heard, he probably will win because they're pulling a lot of dumbass. I don't think he's going to win. In fact, the most recent thing I've seen is the CBS has asked for it dismissed, and the judge has given extra time to more think about it, which is not a good sign. I could be wrong. I don't know. Do you think Michael Weir given $20 again? Michael, dude, I'm taking you out to drink sometime if you ever come by. Honestly, I think I sent you this message, but Michael Weir has been such a huge supporter of the channel. Thank you so much. Do you think Romulus will be wiped out in the new Picard series? Romulus has been wiped out. That's confirmed. Romulus has been destroyed. Romulus is gone. And it always was a part of canon. They destroyed it before the JJ verse took over. People just don't understand how that works because people don't use logic, and it's frustrating. But anyway, yeah, Romulus is gone. And that's been canon, and this only further proves that it's canon in continuity, however the hell you want to say it. Jackson, cheers. Great night. Have a good night. You have a good night too, Jackson. Thank you for coming by, buddy. But yeah, Romulus is gone. And they've already said it'd be gone. And they said it's dissolved the Romulan Star Empire. Now, I think it's unrealistic that Romulus being destroyed destroys the Romulan Star Empire, but, you know. Well, darn, I finally catch one, and there is, and it's at the back end. Oh, well, happy to be here. Your vids make me think about my own sci-fi project, plus I like them. Well, good, Forrest. I'm glad. And I'm going to try to do these more. I may do them at different intervals, too, so I'm sure I'll catch you. My biggest problem with Discovery is the forced Burnham, Spock, and Sarek connection. Yeah, that's an issue. Trek fans should have a class action lawsuit against CBS for Discovery. Agreed. The Romulans are not gone, just the planet. The Romulan Star Empire, the government, has been dissolved. That's been confirmed. So the Romulan Star Empire is gone, but not the Romulans. So I'm sorry if I said that wrong. I meant the Romulan Star Empire as in the government is gone. Laura, somehow this is more interesting than sitting around next to a Taco Bell being able to talk about airplanes and getting free tacos. Thank you for making... Well, I'll wait for you. I'm here for you, buddy. Do you think some of the Star Trek Online story, at least some of the plot, is going to sneak its way into the show? I think that Star Trek Online and CBS have been big buddy-buddy. And I do think we may see some stuff there. I do. Do you think the Federation will be present in the Gamma Quadrant? They should be, in theory. I don't know that they will be. See, the thing people forget is that the Dominion is still top dog. They still have all their infrastructure. They still have all of their slave states, all of that stuff. So it's not... They only got defeated in the Alpha Quadrant. So the Dominion still owns the Gamma Quadrant. Game of Thrones style petition to have Star Trek Discovery made non-canon. I think if it gets sold, it may, but until then, it won't. If the RSC is dissolved, did a portion of the Romulans join the Federation? I don't know what we're talking. That's what they're talking about. Pulling Picard out of retirement. Trek seems to be running out of ideas these days. I would somewhat agree. It would. You know what's interesting here is that the before Star Trek Picard, or before Picard show was announced, I remember a week before that, or a couple weeks before that, them talking about how Picard's actor, Patrick Stewart, was having trouble getting work, that he was having hard trouble finding places to act. And then all of a sudden, a week to 2 weeks later, they talk about this show. I wonder if he didn't pull some strings. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I think that Star Trek is on the downbend when it comes to the stories that they have to tell. I don't necessarily like that. It's not like, oh God, gloom and doom. Just my opinion. I wonder how many more stories they have to tell, right? Maybe they have a lot, maybe not. But I will say that if the stories are done, then maybe it's time for Star Trek to end. That makes a lot of people mad, but I don't know. With Romulus gone and more of a focus on Romulus with the new series, more focus on Romulans with the new series, will we see a possible return of Commander C? I would love to see Commander Sela. I would love for them to go Star Trek Online's way and have her be the main villain. Trying to restore the Romulan Star Empire. I think that would be excellent. I think she'd be a great foil to Picard. I don't know if they will do that, but I hope so. Timothy says, I thought Romulus and Remus, don't forget, destruction was the entire impetus for the JJ verse. So people get confused by this, and so Timothy, this isn't focused at you, but I'm gonna get a little frustrated because people don't seem to understand this, and it's not you, it's more the stupid people in comments, not you. So what happened was there was a huge supernova or something like that happened, and the ribbon of death or whatever, supernova of death, came in and it destroyed Remus and Romulus in the prime timeline, in continuity, as a part of the entire series. Romulus and Remus were destroyed in everything we ever knew. Now, the destruction of it and the way it worked caused a wormhole or time travel that sends Spock back into the JJ verse. Okay? So, it was the impetus for the creation of the JJ verse, but it actually did happen in the same timeline as everything else. And people just don't get that. I don't understand it. Topher says, I'm hoping the Tal Shiar will still be around and kicking despite the RSC's fall. I think it would keep things more interesting. Always want to see more of them. Yeah, and see, that's what I'm hoping. Going back to the Commander Sela, I'm hoping the Tal Shiar maybe still exists and Commander Sela uses those assets. So that would be pulled from Star Trek Online, but I think that would be wonderful to do. I really would like to see that. I agree. I wouldn't say it's time for it to end, but it is time to stop the past stuff and do some post DS9. See, I just wonder, post DS9, post Voyager, everyone wants to see that. If I was going to write for them, that's what I'd want to write in. I just don't know where else we can go with that. You would have to depower Starfleet somehow, you know? You would have to find a way to make Starfleet depowered and to... I don't know how many ways or how many times you can rewrite this stuff and not become derivative. We've done Cowboy in Space. We've done Next Generation's exploratory New World. We've done DS9's let's see what happens when we take a cold universe that doesn't play by Starfleet's rules and try to destroy Starfleet's way of life, or the Federation. We've done Voyager's Fish Out of Water. We've done Enterprise's formation of Starfleet. I don't know how many more stories we can tell without being repetitive and, you know... and I'm not... You know, people take that wrong. I don't want Starfleet to end for a couple of reasons. I mean, Starfleet keeps a... Or not Starfleet, but Star Trek keeps a roof over my head as much as I want to be a sci-fi guy. My bread and butter is Trek, right? But beyond that, I do really enjoy Trek. That's why I did it. I wouldn't do this just for the money. Sure, as I can make so much more money doing almost anything else. But I do really enjoy this and breaking this down. But I also don't want to see something that I love and something I like just used for money and then thrown away, you know? Forrest says the ideas I mentioned before had some tensions with the Vulcans possibly seceding. I think something about the Dominion War and Romulus is the cause for it. Maybe. I mean, that would be interesting. Because of this new TV show, do you think they'll make another Picard movie? I don't think they'll make another Picard movie, no. I don't think that there's enough money in Trek to do a movie yet. And I don't trust the numbers. I don't trust the numbers CBS puts out. I don't care what Kowalski says. I don't trust the numbers. What if Trek branched out into perspective of the other factions, like the Klingons or the remnants of the Romulans? I think that the reason Trek does so well is because it's done from a human perspective. I think a Klingon-focused show, I think a Romulan-focused show, I don't think it would do well because I don't think people could relate to it. Sophisticated Stark says, also, yeah, you definitely can make more money doing it. I actually used to, not a lot of people know this, I actually worked in, for a corporation. I was an analyst for a corporation, and I got to travel all over and things. I made so much more money than I do now. People think that YouTube is just like nothing but money. It's really not. I could work at a factory, or I could work... There's a lot of places that if you worked overtime, you could make more money. What is your dream Trek series and movie? Brian, I think that something along the ways of Picard, post-Dominion War with internal struggle. Is what I would do. My voice is going out. I generally don't talk this long. All right, guys, we're going to be ending it very shortly. What any other questions or anything you want to throw out there before we end this? These leaks seem rushed already. Please hold off Picard series till 2021. It's coming at the end of 2019. YouTube, big money. Yeah. You know, honestly, here's the thing. When it comes to YouTube, here's the thing people don't get. YouTube, for most people, even those who have 100,000 subscribers, even those who have 150,000 subscribers, is more just the normal range of what people make in the US. So you think it's a lot of money, but it's more really just around the average wage. Yeah, when you get into 200,000 or 600,000 or $1 million, there's an S-ton of money. Most people make what the average person makes on YouTube. I can tell you that for sure. Most of us that do it full time. For an alien point of view Trek show to work, it would have to be a vignette series, like a UFP historian film documentary. Maybe. Yeah, you always know you have our support. YouTube is brutal for when it comes to acting as a career. Yeah, and here's the interesting thing about YouTube. Then we can go back to it. YouTube does so many changes that we don't even know about that impacts it. And they don't even tell you. So May 1st, they did a change to the algorithm. And it just tanked a lot of channels, mine including, tanked being relative. I had a 30% hit across all my stats. And here's what's interesting, though. I'm almost willing to bet dollars to donuts that they are pulling views away from the UK and from the European Union. I'm almost willing to bet that the algorithm is being changed so that the European Union is not getting as much focus on it, based on conversations I've had with other channels and what I'm looking at with my stats. That's just my thoughts. I could be wrong. The pains of creators, writers, artists, singers, YouTubers. Oh, you make a lot of money. Yeah, we don't. And it is a full-time job. I heard Comic Book 19 is going under. I don't know what Comic Book 19 is, but it may be. B4 and Wesley Crusher would be awesome in a new series. Who agrees? Paul Fox, 89. I hate to hear that you have had brain damage. That's horrible to hear, buddy. Dave is from the European Union. Well, that's good. I'm not saying they stopped people from the European Union watching, or that you can't get alerts or anything like that. I'm saying based on my conversations with others and my stats and where stuff is coming from, I think that something has happened and they're not giving the European Union as much love. I mean the Comic Book Girl 19 YouTube channel. I heard Comic Book 19 YouTube is going under. Oh, maybe. I don't know. That sounds familiar. I'm not sure. How would I kill Starfleet? I wouldn't kill Starfleet. But if I did, it would be internal struggles. Everything goes back to internal struggles. But either that or the Borg. All right. I'm on for 2 more minutes, and then I'm heading out because I need sleep. Can you do a video on Earth Final Conflict? I'll put it in the hopper. No guarantees when I'll get to it, but I'll definitely have it at some point. Star Trek Online has supernova caused by Tal Shiar head trying to operate Iconian Gateway. I didn't know that. Sophisticated Shark says, wow, that's super interesting, but that would make a lot of sense with the change in laws and dealing with the recent transition that are going. Yeah, for YouTube. I don't just randomly say that. I'm not saying the European Union doesn't get stuff, but I'm saying that when I'm looking at my stats, far less is coming from the European Union and the UK. And that's not just me. That's other YouTubers as well. And I would almost bet dollars to donuts the way the algorithm is set up is that they're gearing up for if they're going to go dark in those places. I could be wrong, but that'd be my guess. All right, guys, I want to thank you so much for watching. I'll be trying to do this more. Don't forget to subscribe to me at twitch.tv/LoreReloaded. I'm going to be doing stuff there too. Less Trek focused, more me sitting back and just hanging out with you guys, not on point like this. Also, go to twitter.com/LoreReloaded. I want to get to 2,000 followers at some point there, so help me out there if you guys could. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next Lore Reloaded. Also, I'm going to follow up by saying right here, because it always tries to cut me off. And it really doesn't, because if you watch the replay, it doesn't cut me off. But because the way this does, it acts like it cuts me off when it actually hasn't. It's just the live stream making it look like that.